Hi there, Vimeo number 2 on the Cold War. Now, the introductory Vimeo, we looked at the conferences, and I left it saying that things maybe were about to get worse. Well, what about this, ladies and gentlemen? You're an idiot! No, you're an idiot! Come here and say that! No, you come here and say that! What have we got here, ladies and gentlemen, apart from me being foolish? We have a war of words. Now, two people. Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Britain, soon to lose the election, 1945. But there he is. Joseph Stalin, Great Tash, leader of Russia. And these two men, as we move from 1945 into 1946, they start to have a war of words. Now, first of all, when Churchill's no longer the Prime Minister, he goes on a tour to America, and he tours around the USA, and he goes to a state called Missouri, a place called Fulton, and he makes a speech. Churchill was always making great speeches. In World War II, we shall fight them on the beaches. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. Terrible Churchill impression, but I don't care. He was a great speaker. And when he went to Fulton, he came out with a very, very famous speech. From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent. An iron curtain. What did he mean? Any ideas? Well, hopefully you're able to think and say, yes, he was saying that the communists were controlling Eastern Europe and almost dividing Europe in two. That was Churchill's view. Stalin, of course, was very angry, and he also made a speech in direct response to Churchill. And Stalin said a very, very powerful thing. He said, Mr. Churchill and his friends bear a striking resemblance to Hitler and his friends. So he's calling Churchill a bit like Hitler and saying, look, Hitler wanted to dominate Europe and so does Churchill. That shows how the two sides were engaging in a war of words. The Iron Curtain. Was it descending and splitting Western Europe, capitalist, from Eastern Europe, communist? What do you think? Now, as I've said before, Roosevelt was gone, so the new leader, President Truman, he wants to find out what Stalin is planning. So he asks his ambassador based in Moscow, and the ambassador, George Kennan, sends a telegram called the Long Telegram in history, and in this telegram he says to the president these things. Number one, Stalin wants to destroy capitalism. Stalin is building weapons. The conclusion, America will not be able to make peace with USSR. That was a powerful message. At the same time, Stalin was worried about America, so he asked his ambassador in America to find out what America was thinking. And he sent a telegram back to Stalin called the Novikov telegram. 2 telegrams. What did the Russian telegram say? Well, it was very simple. It said, America is planning world domination. America is preparing for war. America has got the atom bomb. So therefore, Stalin, America does not want peace with you. 2 telegrams, 2 messages. Both America and USSR thought that the other one wanted to dominate the world. That was a problem. There is no trust. Remember, these two countries fought together to defeat Nazis, to defeat Hitler. Within a year, that trust has gone, and we are into the Cold War. Very important for telegrams. So, what does President Truman decide to do? Well, he comes up with an idea. The posh word for it that we use in history is a doctrine, and it's called the Truman Doctrine, the Truman idea. What was this idea? I'm all ears. Do you know the answer? Don't worry. If you don't, here it is. Truman realized, he actually did some research, got his experts and said, no, USSR is not strong enough to fight us. We've got the atom bomb. We weren't as damaged in World War II as Russia. We know that they cannot beat us by fighting. However, Truman felt convinced that Stalin wanted to spread communism by supporting communist revolution in other countries around Europe. Particularly, you've got to remember, many of the countries in Europe had been devastated by the war. So there were many, many poor people. Now, if communism is saying, look, if you're poor, you need communists because we will share the wealth and your lives will improve, Truman feared that that would be quite enticing and attractive. So he feared communist revolutions in countries, for example, like Greece, France, across Europe. So how can he stop that? What was his plan? Well, any ideas? It was the Truman Doctrine, and here it is. He decided any country that was being threatened by communists, any country where they thought the communists might come in and try to take over, America would step in and help. America would help to keep communism out, either by sending soldiers, resources, weapons, maybe even money. That was his idea. He wanted to stop the spread of communism. And the posh word that we use in history for that is he wanted to contain, hold back communism. So the Truman Doctrine was based on the policy of containment, holding back communism. Wherever it threatened in Europe, he would step in. That's what his new idea was. Wow, that's quite big. The significance of this. Well, here's a couple of things to think about. Number one, America seems to be dominating the world. America seems to be the protector of the free world, or the Western world, or the capitalist world. Not the United Nations, America. Secondly, it seems to be a case that Europe and possibly the world was beginning to divide into two camps, capitalist, communist. The world was now two, and America is very much leader of the one. It seems as if the idea of cooperation has finished. The Truman Doctrine, very important, 1946 into 1947. Linked in with the Truman Doctrine is something called the Marshall Plan, or Marshall Aid. The word aid means help. Well, Marshall was a top American general, and he came up with a plan. And it was this. They looked back into history. They looked at World War I. At the end of World War I, Germany was punished very severely. That caused World War II in some ways. America this time said, no, let's not punish, let's help to rebuild Europe. And Marshall came up with the plan of putting 13 billion American dollars into Europe to help it rebuild and repair. Well, you might think that's a great idea. Well done, America. for being such nice people. And you could argue that. There's also, of course, other reasons. Can you think of any? I can stay quite still, can't I? Yeah, it's good. Now, here's a reason. If America helped to rebuild the poorer countries in Europe, those poorer countries will be so pleased and so thankful that they will move towards America. And Truman hoped that they would reject communism and move towards capitalism. So he's doing it to help America as well. Another reason, if they help to rebuild Europe, Europe will be wealthier, Europe will be richer, and those countries will then trade with America. So America will become even richer and wealthier. So that's helping America as well. So the policy of the Marshall Plan, yes, it was helping Europe, but it was also helping America. And as a bonus, Truman felt it would move people away from communism. So his plan to deal with the threat of communism, the Truman Doctrine, using containment or force, the Marshall Plan, using money, maybe bribery if you want to go that far. Now, there's a satsuma I'm going to eat in 5 minutes when I finish this. There's a sharp knife. Be careful, ladies and gentlemen. What I do is I slice the satsuma in two. There it is. Think of the satsuma as the problem of communism spreading for Truman. He wants to stop it. He uses two tactics, both aimed to stop communism. One half, force. The Truman Doctrine, we will fight communism. The second half, help. We will provide money, Marshall Plan, to draw you away from communism. Both ways, communism is rejected or held back or contained. So, 1948, there is a meeting in Paris, the Paris Conference, 1948. At that meeting, they discuss the Marshall Plan. Stalin storms out, claiming, "You have made Europe into two camps." He's probably right. Europe was beginning to move to two camps. America would say, "Well, you can come and have our money." Stalin didn't want that. So he stormed out. And he took the countries in his sphere of influence with him. The countries in the East, the communist countries as they were to become. East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, those sorts of countries. Leaving the west of Europe, France, Britain, those sorts of countries to take advantage of the Marshall Plan and the money. So, as we get to 1947, 1948, remember Churchill, an Iron Curtain has descended. It does seem as if Europe is in two camps. What will happen next? Stay tuned. I'm going to go and eat a satsuma, and it looks very juicy. Hooray! Speak to you soon.